jumping on a little bit is what was euphemistically termed the secret scrolls of Kumite in Isshin-ryu karate. And when I first heard this term, I was like brand new white belt, and I envisioned, the founder going over the corner in the dojo and opening this old trunk and taking these ancient scrolls out. Moss fly away, that kind of thing. And I was deeply shocked when I learned much later that they were just listed on the dojo wall. But they were secret because they were very cryptic. So the name of the first one was left hand hold right wrist. So get somebody holding your right wrist, and when does the magic happen, right? I know, I'm standing here for 20 minutes. But there's a bunch of these. We have like 15 techniques, and then each one has multiple variations. So you can spend the whole weekend seminar going through this. So we have an hour, so I'm going to not talk much and work on a couple of them. They're often thought of as self-defense techniques, and they can be utilized that way. I think of them more as tools to understand body mechanics. Keys to, they all come from out of our kata, but it's like they pick little lessons out of the kata, so you can perfect that idea. And then when you go back into your kata and you're doing that technique, you spend this time on these kumites, now it's a lot easier, or it works better, or it makes more sense to you. So that's the way I've always kind of looked at these. And so when we're working on these, try to pick out, the lesson. Don't focus on, well, but this, is this really going to work in the street? Probably, if you're doing it right, but that's not the focus. The focus is, what is this teaching me about technique and body mechanics? So that's the way I look at this. So I'm going to start out with a trick question. How many fingers am I holding up?
5.
Who said 4? Thank you. All right. This is the thumb. These are 4 fingers. This is the thumb. All right. So we're going to start out these first ones, and what we'll probably end up staying on because of the time. These are working off wrist grabs mostly, and I think realistically, guys at least won't get, grabbed in the street, in a brawl or something. But you can learn a lot about body mechanics and how things work by starting with a grab. And then, okay, I've got that down. How do I make that now work against a punch? Or, that's the idea. So we'll come up here. Dave is going to borrow one of, since I know some Isshin-ryu students for this. So what I mean about understanding body mechanics through wrist grabs is like, if he grabs my wrist here, and I'm going to do a upper block, right? There's ways to do that work well, and there's ways to do that don't. So I'm standing here, and I try to, I'm not getting very far, am I? Right? But if I change the focus in that technique a little bit, all of a sudden it's different, right? So yes, it's a grab, and I'm not really worried about the grab. But what I learned from that is how to work the body to make that technique work. So I think grabs are good to start with. So back to this question. What's stronger, 4 fingers or 1 thumb?
4
4
fingers.
fingers, right? So how many people, you get a grab here? Well, the first one is left hand hold grab, left hand hold right wrist. So let's start that way. So I'm here. Lots of people will kind of try to pull back, and I'm fighting 4 fingers. 1 thumb, hold on tight. So the principle of the first several of these is working against, isolate and work against that thumb. And then once you have it down, there's a whole bunch of ways you can, you know, kata gives you all kinds of techniques where you can use that. All right. So the basic first technique, two things are happening here, or a couple. One is in my brain, I'm not fighting him. There's no fight to this. All I'm doing is brushing the hair out of my eyes, wiping the sweat off my brow. You know, it's a very natural movement. Boom. Right? And it's going against that thumb. The other thing is there's a little bit of leverage working in this. So the edge of his hand here is the fulcrum. So that same motion is using that leverage there, rotating on the back knuckle, you know, of his hand. Over two. This should still work because hopefully I'm stronger than two thumbs. Right? Right. So that's the idea. The technique is simply this, one hand. So all I'm going to do is step back. Boom. These are not complicated. These are really simple. But learning how to work against that thumb. What you don't want to do is this. Because he's going to clock me, right? You know, I'm way back here. What I want to do is this. I'm right here. Bam! All right, so my hand is not coming way back. It's just right there. Boom. That's the first one. I need to see it again? I needed that point. So whatever opening it gives you, that's what you got to take. Right? You can't say, I'm sorry, Mr. Bad Guy, would you attack me again so I can get this right? You know, that ain't gonna work. So here's another one. How many people do Seiyujin Kata here? Anybody do Seiyujin Kata? So have you seen this move? All right. Reinforced middle block. All right. What we're going to do with it is I'm going to bring this around, put my other hand here, and I'm going to smack him in the face with his own wrist. Okay? Now, what does that set up? Several things. When I roll this up, boom, we got some folks in here that are doing some other styles. What is this? That's that Ikkyo, that S curve.
Yep, there it is.
Right? So right off this, bam, I'm right into that. Right?
Well, you know it's good when you're laughing.
Right? That's why we do this.
When everybody else is going, good technique. But, so one more time, you see it. Here comes the grab, I'm going to come up, bam. And then, you know, what do you got from here? If you do a keto, my brother's famous terminology from last year, shove his elbow through his face. You know, at that point, you know, the world is your oyster. Go pick it, right?
A target-rich environment.
Yes, a target-rich
Target-rich environment.
All right. Have you seen that enough to try it?
Sir.
Bars and you know, blocking the elbows and stuff like that. And that's something that I will just be honest. It was a skill that I never really mastered. The timing of it, getting it lined up right, I always seem to slip off or whatever the case may be. But this is really teaching how to time and work that. So we're going to stand. We're both facing the same way, and he's got my wrist here. All right. This one. Come along, come along. So what we're going to look at with this one is I'm going to just bring my hand up. And of course I got to move a little closer to do this. All right. Get here. Do this first. What I was always trying to do is this. Right? And that's a little much. So get this first, you know, step in, get this first. Once you're here, you roll this right over on top. And then all you do is this. Right? You can step into horse dance, seijin, whatever you call it, shikodachi. Get this, I can go this way. Or in Nahunchi kata, we'll go and we'll step into them.
I don't think he's enjoying it.
I'm not.
Are you not? I'm sorry. We won't do that anymore.
Sensei, would you do that again, please?
Absolutely. All we're doing, standing here, I want to step in, bring this right here, right? And this, you know, wrist, behind the knuckle here, you know, I think most of us are familiar enough, you know, with the grip here. And then, once I've got that, of course you can speed it up as you get it down, but when I get to here, all I want to do is roll this up on top. And then, boom. And we typically will step, boom. Now look at where he is. All right? Or the other way. Once more. Same deal, coming up on top, but I'm going to take, instead of going that way, I'm going to take it into him. Now look, you know.
Take a knee, Dave.
Bam, right? Well, whatever the case may be. You know, again, this is not a self-defense. You're never going to do that in the street. But I'm going to guess you're probably never going to do it in the street. I mean, I guess it could happen. But the idea is understanding the timing, rolling that up on top, and then taking it into him, or overextending him. One or the other. Need to see that again? I think he's had enough. No?